Hello everyone, how's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and let's do a review of Dave the Diver, shall we? So Dave the Diver is a game that I picked up last year in 2023, played a ton on the channel. I have a Let's Play, I have a beginner's guide to the game. I will link those in the description below, and I absolutely love this game. So in this review, what I'm going to do is give you my grade for what kind of a score I feel that this game deserves personally. And then also in the second half of the review, what I'm going to do is recommend this game and kind of offer my take on whether or not you should purchase and play Dave the Diver. So as we dive in, how about that? I couldn't resist, to our review. The first thing we have to do is say, well, what kind of a game is Dave the Diver? On the Steam page, it says Dave the Diver is a casual, single-player adventure RPG featuring deep-sea exploration and fishing during the day and sushi restaurant management at night. Join Dave and his quirky friends as they seek to uncover the secrets of the mysterious Blue Hole. And the user-defined tags are pixel graphics, casual, adventure, management. And I think that gives you a feel for it. But here's the deal with Dave the Diver. It is very much a game that is a 2D diving game as one element, where you're going to go under the water, you have concerns about your oxygen, your carry capacity, and you're trying to gather ingredients for your restaurant. And that's kind of like your daytime, as it says. And then you need to run a restaurant as well, where you will be kind of selecting the menu and ferrying out drinks and food to customers, trying to get good reviews and build up your money and your restaurant, which in turn allows you to purchase better staff, buy better equipment for diving. So there's RPG elements to upgrading your character, your weapons, your capabilities, your restaurant, your staff, your chef and his prowess. So all of this stuff, plus there's some other systems that I don't want to spoil that are part of the game as well, blend together in this kind of like two-phase game. However, that really doesn't completely describe Dave the Dive either, because it's got an amazing story, and a lot of the game is doing specific quests and missions, building relationships, and getting ever more apps on your phone. It's kind of a nice little riff on cell phone life and just apps and talking to people on your cell phone, upgrading your phone, and having a roguelite element where you dive in and somehow the ocean is different every time. So that is a good approximation for Dave the Diver. It kind of stands apart as its own experience, but when you play it, it also somehow still feels familiar. Now, me, myself, because I grew up in Nintendo era, am reminded of the game Jaws a little bit when I play some of the diving elements, but only very slightly. So what do I want to say about Dave the Diver? The first thing we have to talk about is the fun factor. Is Dave the Diver a fun game? And 100% yes. That is probably the thing that Dave the Diver does the best, which is why it's a great game. A game has to be fun, and Dave the Diver is fun in so many different ways. It is fun in the gameplay is fun, of just diving around and getting fish and gathering resources and fighting fish, upgrading. That part is fun. Managing the restaurant is fun, serving customers and stuff like that. It's not prohibitively difficult, so you can have a good time. There's lots of other mini games that you do that are fun, but the real fun comes from the just sheer joy and sense of humor that Dave the Diver has. The cutscenes are some of the best cutscenes that you'll see in terms of just making you laugh out loud. The pixel graphics might not be for everyone, but once you get into it, it really takes over, and it's a beautiful, cute game that just has unbelievable interactions and character animation that I can see again and again, and I have fun playing it. The game makes you laugh. It is silly. So it is a super fun game. So now let's talk about the control in Dave the Diver. How are the controls for the game? The game is asking you to do quite a few different things. There's more mini games in Dave the Diver than you could ever believe. There's the diving system where you're swimming around and you're fighting, and there's the restaurant simulation system where you're, managing the restaurant and delivering dishes. So how do the controls work? Well, I gotta tell you what, the controls are great for Dave the Diver. I used a gamepad. I played Dave the Diver on the PC, but now it's out for Switch, it's out for console, it's pretty much out for everything. And, they have gamepad support in mind when it goes to console like that, but I had no problems at all doing everything that the game wants me to do with the controller. I was never frustrated in combat or anything with the controls. The aiming is a little bit wonky to get used to, that you have this arc and you have to time it and all this stuff. But once you get it, you will be fine harpooning and shooting and doing all of the stuff that the game wants you to do pretty reasonably. And I had no issues with the controls. Now, a subset of control are the systems and the UI. How do the systems work in this game, and how does the UI help you interface with those systems and actually understand them? So for me, this is a game of systems. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like it's a game about, just diving, but no, wait, it's also restaurant management. Okay, it's just mixing those two things together. That's fine. No, wait, it's mixing those two things, but then you're also, doing farming, and you are doing minigame on top of minigame on top of minigame, and you have RPG elements. So there is a ton of different things that you're doing in the game, and there are a ton of systems. Luckily, Dave the Diver has nearly flawless execution with all of these systems. Some of the minigames are not that great, and when I say minigame, by the way, like, it ranges from, this is a bona fide mini game where you are doing something intricate. There's like a race, or there's some other smaller element in the game, to the most minute thing where, okay, you have to tap the button this many times, or you have to do it in rhythm, or you have to line these things up when you're trying to catch different fish or use different equipment or stuff like that. So there's a range of mini games from small to more involved. And I think that all of these systems work great, and if you don't like the minigames, the developers did eventually add the ability to turn those off for accessibility reasons, so you can just play the game and not have to worry about, like, mashing the button, which is never my favorite thing, but it wasn't horrible. I could do it. So I think the systems in this game are great, and one of the things that carry Dave the Diver is the fact that if you had all of these elements, but you didn't bring them together, and one was like maybe a real clunker, it could be problematic. But I think the execution is just top shelf for all of these systems. And what about the UI? They did a good job with the UI. It actually got some changes and quality of life upgrades throughout the history of my playing of Dave the Diver. And if I go back to it, I don't know if they've changed it more, but the UI is great. You have your cell phone, which you can navigate all the different apps. There's a lot of transparency with what you've caught, with managing your equipment, your loadout, and they even made it better. So, like, one of the things you had to do was inventory management. You really have to watch how much weight you have when you're diving, and you can only carry a certain amount of stuff. And before, it was kind of tedious, but now you can sort it by weight. You can dump stuff out. You can see the weight very easily. And they added all this stuff to make it easier for you to do the diving and manage these different elements. So I think that's great. Also, you can check your progress on the different apps where you're trying to collect things or take pictures or whatever. You can see that more easily too. There's a nice quest log. So overall, I think that the UI is terrific in Dave the Diver. So now let's talk about the story. Is Dave the Diver a game that has a story of any kind? And surprisingly, yes, Dave the Diver is a game with a robust story. I thought when I first played it, I was like, oh, it's just going to be a kind of cute, like, little fishing, game. I had no idea that it was actually going to be way more story than I expected. Sometimes I'm honestly even like, I just want to do the game. I want to play it. It's so much fun, but you have all of these, like, stories that you go through. Not saying that it got too intrusive, but there's noticeable amounts of cutscenes and story that you need to progress that change what you're doing day to day. And this is probably a design choice for the best, because it prevents it from getting stale. You're not just diving in every day and doing stuff. You actually, as long as you're progressing the story, you will get very, very detailed explanations of these characters' backstories and what's going on here at the Blue Hole. So that's great. And the really amazing part about the story is not only the sense of humor and the originality, but just the unbelievable nature of the music and the cutscenes is phenomenal. So Dave the Diver actually has a really good story. It has a lot of narrative, it has a lot of character interaction, relationships, you meet a lot of people, you make a lot of friends, and the story is just super fun. So what about the graphics in Dave the Diver? What about the visuals? I think the graphics are amazing. Now, granted, I grew up, with pixelated graphics, so I have a soft spot in my heart for this. Some people might not be vibing on these kind of, pixel graphics, but I think they're actually quite amazing. What they can capture, the anime cutscenes are ridiculous. The characters' faces and the animations just make you laugh out loud. And even the underwater scenes can look beautiful given the three-dimensional effect and the lighting. So I think, for my money, they are pixel graphics, but they're great. They're really well done. The art design is very high. The animation is very high caliber. So I think that this game looks amazing. Now, what about the audio? What about the music, the voice acting, the sound effects? How do all these things come together? Well, there's no voice acting in Dave the Diver, but well, not really. I mean, there's maybe one or two little things in there, but for the most part, it's just like Charlie Brown, wama wama, when people are talking. But the music in the game is amazing. I love the chill, vibing music when you're swimming, and then the sound effects are great. The music in the cutscenes punctuates them and brings them to life in a way that is hysterical. So I think that the audio in this game is sensational. Now, if we were to take all of these elements that I've talked about so far, controls, visuals, story, audio, systems, UI, fun factor, and we blend them together in a delightful pate to be used in some otherworldly sushi, what will we say? Does this game have a soul? Does it feel like it has a unique sense of identity, or does it just think like, oh, well, they're just taking cool elements from some games and blending them together, and yeah, it looks good, but it's empty, it's soulless, and it has no style? Luckily with Dave the Diver, this is a game that has 100% style marks. It is one of a kind, instantly recognizable. It is a game that is hilarious, that feels like people were having a great time when they were making it. It's full of love, it's full of detail and humor and nuance. It is a game like no other that you've played, and it is truly filled to the brim and more with style. So this is a category that Dave the Diver just absolutely annihilates. So then, bringing it all together, how would I grade Dave the Diver? What score would I give it? Well, I always grade things with a letter grade like it's in my class, but before I do that, I like to ground my review in the Steam reviews, what's available on Steam in terms of the user reviews, and then how about Metacritic? What are people saying there critically about the game? Well, on Metacritic, I believe Dave the Diver has a 90 currently, which is extremely high for a game, and on Steam, I'm looking at 90,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews as of the end of April in 2024, which is a staggering amount of reviews for a smaller kind of like indie niche game like this. And my review goes right there with Dave the Diver. I'm actually going to say A+ for Dave the Diver. Dave the Diver, I have given very few games an A+ on this channel, and it's not my favorite game of all time, but I give it an A+ because it's so much fun, and it is perfectly executed from top to bottom. It is just a unbelievably well-crafted game with a great sense of humor, art direction, audio, style. The controls are great. It's just through and through. This game exudes excellence with how it has been crafted, and on top of that, it's funny and an enjoyable game. So I give it an A+. It is something that is very rare where you just play a game and it immediately makes you feel good, but that's how I am with Dave the Diver, and I give it extra credit for just putting a smile on your face when you're playing it. So for me, I give Dave the Diver my highest Score, A+. Amazing game. Amazing game. So given that, do I recommend Dave the Diver to others? And who would I recommend Dave the Diver to? Well, you've probably guessed it, but if I'm going to give it an A+, I'm going to recommend this to everyone. There are games that you could compare it to, but it's such a unique experience that those kinds of things don't do it too much justice. And what I would say is, if you are a person who is looking to have fun and for a silly story and looking to just see what's out there in gaming, in the space, when people are doing just, kind of like generational games that immediately evoke a response, that are positive and enjoyable, I just think you should check out Dave the Diver. It is not prohibitively expensive. It's $20 on Steam right now, and that's without a sale. And it is just such a great game that I can just, without hesitation, recommend it to everyone. What about the difficulty in Dave the Diver? Is it too hard? Is it too challenging for people? No, it's not too hard. I've died in Dave the Diver. Sometimes you run out of air. Sometimes the boss is too hard. It hits you too many times. But you can always just keep going, get better equipment, try again, and you're fine. So this is not a prohibitively difficult game. It's just a reasonable difficulty, and it's probably on the easier side. And as far as the value, it's $20. You're getting full value with Dave the Diver because there's hours and hours and hours. I have 20 hours and I haven't even beaten the game, and it was $20. I think that's a pretty remarkable value. And as far as replayability, I actually have a beginner's guide and I have a let's play, and playing the game again was just as fun as before. Honestly, I played it again and I was like, man, this game is so good. So it has replayability, even though the story itself doesn't change. Of course, each time you go into the water, it changes, so that kind of adds some variety, but it's just such a fun game that there is replayability here. So overall, I recommend Dave the Diver to anyone who's interested in gaming and just wants to play a fun, adventure RPG. I think that it is a tremendous value, and I give it an A+. So I'd love to know what you guys think about my grade for Dave the Diver. Do you agree? Too high? Too low? What about my recommendation? Have you tried Dave the Diver? Do you like Dave the Diver? Tell me what your thoughts are about Dave the Diver and my review in the comments below. I'd love to know what your feelings are on this game. Everyone, I hope you have found this review to be useful and fun. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.